Welcome to Dualshock'd, the Brotherhood of Geeks PlayStation podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brett J. Rasmussen, and over here, I got my other co-host,
Spectre,
yeah, what is up, my man?
what's up?
What is going on,
Yeah.
my dude?
Yeah, no, just still like I said, I think the weeks and the months just kind of blend together now. It feels like I've been in my house just forever.
I know, welcome to my world.
It's just
Welcome
the
to my
days
world.
and months just blend together. I mean, we're already halfway through the year. It's hard to believe, but
Yeah,
yeah,
no.
no. I guess to dive right into it, I'm kind of kind of exciting. It's sort of sad that this is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say this is exciting, but
It's so
it's
sad. It's
it is.
sad.
It is for us at least. I'm rounding the corner on my 100th platinum,
Ooh, I
so
like that.
big milestone.
Yes.
That's what I'll remember. Having when I'm at end of my days. I raised a family and got 100 platinums. All kind of blend together like that.
Yeah, it's just
Those,
like
those
how you're
major
dead.
life accomplishments.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's going to be Doom Eternal. I have one trophy left, and I should have that done within the next day or so.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
yeah, and it actually kind of a somewhat funny story about it too. I was at, I wanted, my 100th game, whatever that I completed to be,
Uh-huh.
something special. I didn't want it to just be like some random trophy, horror type of game.
Yeah.
So I was at 98 platinums, and I'm like, okay, well, what's something I can do really quick here? And there was like a buy two get one sale not too long ago, and I picked up a couple of games.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, okay, what's an easy, like an easy game I can throw on there? It was one of those cases where you have like two games you want, and it's like, what the hell am I going to get for a third game?
Mm-hmm.
And it was the Peanuts game, Snoopy's Grand
Ah,
Adventure.
yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, I looked it up really quick, and I'm like, oh wow, this is an easy platinum. It's under 5 hours. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm at 98 platinums. How do I make sure that Doom is my next, my final, 100th platinum?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna power for Snoopy, and I finished Snoopy in like a weekend, and yeah, that was an interesting platinum. It actually wasn't as horrible of a game as I thought it was going to be. It was fairly competently made, and
No,
it's something
yeah.
I would, if I had a kid, it's something I would have him play as like, baby's first platformer,
Yeah.
2D platformer. So
Mm-hmm.
it does that job. But yeah, so that's that. Played through that before I finished up Doom, so I'm in the process of finishing up Doom now, and after that, I will hopefully finally start Final Fantasy, and
There you go.
because I haven't really even popped that in yet. So,
There you
but
go.
yeah, that's what's going on for me. I mean, it's like I said, just a homebody, like everybody is right now.
Yeah, no, I get you there. Let's see. Like for me, I have been giving my tryout to Persona 5 Royal. Um,
Okay.
which is really really fun. It's man, that's such a fun game. It's such a weird game, but it's so good, absolutely so good. Been playing that. I booted up Mortal Kombat 11 because there's going to be the Aftermath expansion DLC, which you get three characters. You get RoboCop, uh, um, Shiva, and Fujin, which is, I believe, Raiden's brother, I think. Um, so you get that. The price is $40, which that thing should be 20, 25, because you get those three
Not worth
characters.
it.
I mean, I still got it because I love the story of Mortal Kombat. I just think it's too expensive. But you know,
$40. That's basically for like an expansion pack, right?
yeah. But it depends. Like, it
That
depends on.
is a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how expansive that story is. But I'm probably guessing maybe like 4 hours of story. I'm guessing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, like I'm guessing like maybe 4 to 6 hours of story. And then those three characters are included in there. So again, like I got it because I want to go ahead and play through the story. And yes, look at me talking about, oh, the pricing is bad, but I bought it anyway. Um, you know, it's again, I'm probably going to talk about it here, saying whether it's good or bad. So I'll say that's probably my reason. But
Okay.
I booted it up anyway. I played a little bit of it so I could kind of get my ring rust off. Um, get back into the fighting games. And yeah, and I'm actually going to soon be going back into Last of Us 1. I haven't played that game since 2013. Yeah, 2013? Yeah, 2013,
Kind of in
2014.
preparation for Last of Us 2 coming up here.
Yes, and I'll actually be reviewing that game. I'm actually going to be reviewing that for here before Last of Us Part 2 comes out also. So I'm going to be playing
Well,
through.
you're on your own for both of those. I was one that just like we talked about. I saw the leaks and I got an idea of the story and everything already. So it's definitely not for me. I'll be curious to hear your thoughts on it though.
Yeah, and you're like,
As,
I
as
don't.
a, I'm definitely not a fan, but you're definitely I would say more of in the hardcore fan category. So uh, in a way, it's kind of sad that I'm not going to play it because we'd have probably two very different takes on it. But I just can't bring myself to play it. I tried playing the first one and I just couldn't do it.
You couldn't do it. You couldn't play through the first one. The first one's so good.
No, it's really not.
Yes,
But
you're just wrong, Spectre. So you can go ahead and just be there and be wrong, but like, one is amazing. I don't know what you're talking about, bruv.
well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's definitely not for me, and it's yeah, no thanks. And this one and I have a feeling like I said I feel like this next game without spoiling anything, it feels like a kind of a video game equivalent of The Last Jedi, where I think it's going to be a extremely polarizing game, and even some fans of the game like yourself. This is why I kind of want to hear your thoughts on it when you play it, because I think some of the fans are going to hate it, especially the fans. Like for me, I'm kind of ambivalent about it because like, okay, I don't have a horse in this race, but for someone that really enjoys the game, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are just going to absolutely hate the decisions they made with it. So actually looking forward to hearing what you think about it.
And again, I've heard. I don't know of like I know of the leaks. We've even talked about it on our last episode.
And I've been very careful to not leak anything to you. I'm not like that, especially for a game that you care about. You know, I would not. I'm not that much of an asshole. I would never do that.
Again, we talked about this on the last episode when we talked about the leaks, but it's just regardless if you like the game or not, or if you care about the game or not, it's still not worth it to go ahead and and again, this is I think the biggest leak ever. Like I've never seen a game leaked this much like information about the game.
It's kind of wild, yeah.
It's still not worth it because that is 6 years of development time that Naughty Dog has spent, and this leak, may have cost them, like people were like, oh, good thing I know not to buy this or whatever. So that's money being lost because this was shown. Mind you, I'm hoping that what I've heard from the leaks do not match up with what the game actually is. But who knows? I don't know, and that's why I'm staying in the dark. And I'm keep making sure that I stay in the dark so that way when I review it, I'm not comparing it to the leak. I'm not going like, all right, did the leak do this or not, whatever, because then it kind of twists your thinking of it, and I don't want that. So at least that's my perspective. That's my opinion of it.
Yeah, no, and I'd recommend don't don't look into it. Play the game fresh. I mean, you only got to wait another month or so.
Yeah.
Just wait and play the game when it comes out, and we'll see what you think of it.
So yeah, most definitely. Alrighty. Well, should we begin?
Yes.
All right. Definitely. All right. Let's go ahead and go with the blah. I'm so good at words today. Let's begin with what we always begin with. News of the nation! Yeah. so good at it. All right. The first topic is that Assassin's Creed Valhalla will not be the longest or the biggest game in the Assassin's Creed series. This is coming from VG247.com.
Will it be the hardest?
I don't know. I don't know.
So how long is it?
So pretty much what it is that in this article from VG247.com, pretty much what it is that there was a
You didn't get what I was doing there. It's okay.
Oh, what was it? No, what was it?
I was being really immature.
Oh, well, screw you too, Spectre.
I was as if it was because you said it won't be the longest or the biggest. I'm like, well, yeah, really mature there. But yeah, no, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt your story.
Because we're talking about things. Okay. Anyway, we're talking about penises. So with this article, it's pretty much talking about how this game. There was a tweet from one of its creative directors that it will not be the longest or biggest game in the series because of the criticism that they have received from the past games, specifically from Odyssey and from Origins, and kind of the other, like going back where the games have just kind of been big to be big. So you would have these waypoints and places to go to and things, and they would all be fetch quests, and they would just be there to be there. So it feels big. So again, it's a little short article, but pretty much it says that in response to an article about the size of Valhalla, which features the map that encompasses some of Norway and the four kingdoms of England, Ubisoft's head of communications of the Middle East, Malik Tefaha, says the developer has addressed the criticism of the last game's bloat, which was Odyssey, and that's what I just said. And according to its narrative director, Valhalla will feature a unique story structure. And then you get to visit some famous landmark stuff. So I played Odyssey, and pretty much the problem with Odyssey is that it's just massive. It's just absolutely big, but there's nothing meaningful there. You have places to go to and things to do just so that it's like busy work, you know?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. That's always kind of been one of my criticisms of Assassin's Creed in general, is it just feels like a big laundry list of stuff to do, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, sometimes that can be a good thing. It's sometimes you want to play a game and just turn your brain off and just be like, okay, give me a list of really simple tasks to do, and you know, that's sort of a kind of a relaxing element, I want to say, of some open world games. Just like, okay, I can just kind of go somewhere and just do a laundry list of things. But at the same time, for a game that's as big as Assassin's Creed and as long and hard as Assassin's Creed is,
boom.
It's I guess, maybe, especially as a fan, I guess you would hope to expect better. I'm not a fan, but I know you're a huge fan of it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I guess I would just hope for a little bit more than just, here's a bunch of busy work. Here, go do your homework.
I mean, again, I've had my criticisms about other Assassin's Creed games. Like, again, I have my problems with Odyssey, and I didn't really mention the whole how you're kind of just going to places to go to places. I think it's because I'm so used to that. I'm so used to that with the Ubisoft style of games where you're just there's so much to do. But I think Odyssey just had so much that didn't mean anything. I would rather have a smaller frame of scope but have it be denser. So you have less side quests, less main quests, in a smaller world, but it feels like it has been lived in. It feels like you're actually there. I would rather have, instead of it being a 40 to 50 hour game with all of that stuff, I would rather have it be maybe a 30-hour game. And I'm talking about completion.
You see, when you say stuff like this, it almost makes you wonder why you're not more of a fan of things like Deus Ex, because that's almost what you're describing is almost word for word kind of Warren Spector's design philosophy. He used to talk about a thing he liked to call like the one block game, where he saw all these games that were huge and like Skyrim, like these giant worlds,
Mm-hmm.
but they had the depth of a wading pool.
Yeah.
Really large worlds, no depth. What he wanted was his perfect game pitch was that he wanted a game that was one block, in diameter, but that one block felt like a real lived in real world block of like people and families and characters, and it felt like something real, like with small space, tons and tons of depth. I'm surprised you're it's just I'm surprised you're not more into things like games like that, more of those like um those type of
It
games
could
with
be the
based
style.
off like
It could
that.
be like the style of gameplay. It could be like, again, like I've played a bit of Deus Ex. I enjoy it, but like, I mean, maybe it's just of how, like, I love, like, with Assassin's Creed, I like the history aspect, and then how it fuses the present. Like, you have this fantastical, like, mythical kind of like the pieces of Eden and all these kind of things, the first civilization fused with, like, you're seeing history from a different perspective. Um, like I said, like, I loved Assassin's Creed 3. Um, when you played specific moments like the Boston Tea Party and the Ride of Paul Revere, that kind of thing. You're seeing it from Connor's perspective. So like, Connor is the one who is the assassin who started it, but you don't hear about Connor. Again, it's all like, fiction, but like, you get to see it. Like,
You
you,
kind of you have a thing for the historical fiction.
yeah. So like, I love Vikings. I'm very excited for Valhalla specifically because it's Vikings are rad, and I love Vikings. So, but like, again, just to close this off, um, I'm looking forward to this, and I've heard some people criticize like why are you making it smaller? And I'm like, that's if you have something too big, but there's like nothing matters here. Why are you complaining that it's smaller? Bringing it smaller into scope means that it's going to be more focused, more streamlined. If it's not, then all the criticism about that is warranted. But to me, it sounds like that they're driving the scope back so that way they can kind of focus on making this more meaningful instead of just, here's a massive world, but everything in it really doesn't matter except your main storyline. You know?
Yeah.
So that's my whole take on it. Alrighty. So let's move on. Next topic is that the Tokyo Game Show of 2020 has been canceled, which is no surprise.
This
So
should just be like a regular segment on the show now. Like it just cancellations this week.
oh yeah, no, I completely get you there. Like, it's everything's getting canceled because of what's happening. So yeah, no, it makes total sense, but pretty much, uh, there has been an official announcement from Japan's Computer Entertainment Supplier Association, or CESA. They have confirmed that the 2020 Tokyo Game Show has been canceled as a result to the pandemic. The expo, which was scheduled to run from September 24th to 27th, will now instead be reshaped into an online event. More information for the digital event will come out later in May. From a quote, due to the outbreak of the pandemic on a global scale, and the situation remains unpredictable in Japan as well, the organizer and co-organizers have reached this decision after a long consideration to place the utmost priority on the health and safety of visitors, exhibitors, and stakeholders. We ask for your kind understanding and cooperation. So again, it's adding to E3 and Comic Con and Gamescom and everything else.
Yeah, it's like I said, we hear about like a new cancellation almost every week. I keep saying the same thing. It's sad, it just feels like it's such a empty, dead year without I mean, obviously I understand serious situation going on right now, and that's the focus everyone has. But it's just it's in a way it's even worse because it just feels like I don't know. It's just kind of the magic at this time of year is just it's gone. We're living through this terrible thing, and it's just another reminder, I guess you could say, of what's going on.
Yeah, no, I agree. Again, it's just another thing to add. So yeah, it is what it is. So yeah. So let's move on to the next topic. Just a little quick one. IGN has added even more events to its own summer game event, which is their kind of IGN has kind of taken the reins to being IGN and Jeff Keighley have made IGN has done their summer game event, and then excuse me, Jeff Keighley has made his summer game fest, which we will be talking about later. But pretty much IGN has announced a few things that have happened recently. We have talked about how EA is going to be joining them. Now, it has been announced that Microsoft will be joining them. They'll be doing some kind of event in June. Xbox 2020 is Microsoft's new program of monthly updates on the Series X. New games, Game Pass, and more, but they haven't announced when in June that is going to be happening. And then also on top of that, IGN has also announced that Ubisoft, Blizzard, and more have been the latest additions to the Summer of Gaming lineup. Ahead of Ubisoft's own Forward, so it's called Ubisoft Forward, which is an event in July. Ubisoft will be joining their June showcase on IGN. Blizzard will also be making an appearance in June also. Alongside of that, they have also confirmed that the additions of Bloober Team, Artificial Core, Fabraz, and Cold Symmetry with the publisher called Playstack have been added to the lineup. That comes alongside of all the developers and publishers taking part in the Guerrilla Collective Showcase, which is June 6th to the 8th. So yeah. So just a little quick thing. Again, more. So we are getting stuff in June. We're going to be getting, like, IGN is kind of they've taken the place of E3. IGN is like, yep, we're going to do it now.
Yeah, no, it's good that we're getting at least some kind of substitute for, what we're missing. I mean, because there's still games coming out. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of things going on this year. I mean, you have new systems coming out, so there's still a pressing need to hear news. It's just obviously it's in a different format than what we're used to. We can't really have these live events right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there is that. So let's move on. Next topic. There was a rumor that the release of the PS5 may have been leaked in October. So there was a leak pointing that the PS5 was going to be because there was a job listing in Sony Interactive Entertainment saying that the PS5 would be released in October of 2020. A Twitter user named Nibel, who has a listing on NextJob's website for a role of the SIE Materials Department, says that the successful applicant will, quote, work with design department and quality assurance department to create the PS5 scheduled to be released in October of 2020. And previously, Sony has specified that it was going to be a holiday of 2020. Now that's what has been said. That's the original part. It has been updated. Sony has told Famitsu that the October release date that was mentioned in a job listing was a mistake made by the recruitment company involved. The official release window still stays at holiday of 2020. So it is still that time.
Gotcha.
So yeah. So do you think that Sony messed up? Do you think that it really is October, or do you think it's going to be more of that?
I don't. October seems honestly, October seems really weird for
Mm-hmm.
a console launch. I think if history is anything to go by, it's probably going to be something sometime in November.
Mm-hmm.
November seems to be the most common month for system launches. I could think of some that came out back like in September. There's been examples of that, but for the most part, November seems to be like that magic month where system launches happen. So
Mm.
I mean, it's possible it could come out in October. I would see if I had to pick a date right now, it would probably be like second or third week of November.
Yeah.
I'd say it's about 80% chance that one or both of the new systems will come out around that time,
Yeah.
within a
No.
week of that time period.
Yeah, I agree. Like I see it more.
Assuming that they're still coming out this year,
They're still coming out. They are still coming out.
as far as we know. Yeah.
Well, actually, well, I was gonna leave this until later, but let's go ahead and move on. Next topic. Let me pull this up. Sony has says that hardware is on track and no major issues have been with the software. Sony has said that the PS5 remains on track for its holiday 2020 release date, and game developments have seen no major issue due to the pandemic. As part of its financial results briefing, Sony Global reiterated that its new hardware is, quote, on track for launch this holiday season. A statement on the impact of the pandemic reads, although factors such as employees working from home and restrictions on international travel have presented some challenges in regards to part of the testing process and the qualification of production lines, development is progressing. And so yeah, so it is going fine. It is like in the financial
Yeah,
briefing.
and I kind of suspect that it will come out this year. I think we might see a smaller launch overall. And I don't know if it's in one of your news stories, but it's
Yes.
more Xbox related, but it does kind of relate to this. Phil Spencer did recently come out and talk about how he also doesn't think that what's going on right now won't affect things so much, at least in the short term. However, what we could see, he seemed to hint at for next year. I mean, this is Phil Spencer. He's had an Xbox, means he has kind of some authority on this, so he has some know.
Yeah.
What he did seem to suggest is that this could affect development for games coming out in 2021. So
Yeah.
because the games that were coming out this year were kind of baked into the cake already, we could see some major delays in 2021. 2021 might be an interesting year in terms of what kind of software gets released, which also kind of goes into my argument. Like I said, I know we've talked about this before, how we have both very different opinions on the new system, and for you it's a guaranteed buy day one. For me, it's kind of up in the air. And now that I'm considering, like, okay, we might have delays of games and stuff like that, it's like it's one more reason why I might just chill. I think a lot of people might just chill on the system that they already have and play your backlog of games. There's no shortage of games right now, and wait.
Yeah, I mean, but it might. I don't know, but I mean, like
Unless there's a really compelling reason we don't know about yet to get these new systems.
well, it's the newest thing, and like a lot of the stuff that we're going to be bringing up kind of revolves around that. Um, like there probably are new features that we haven't heard about yet, and that's going to be at the full announcement of the system, not the hey, here's the specs, hey, here's the tech. More about like what you can do with the system and how it interacts, and here are the games and stuff. So I guess we'll be seeing that soon. We'll be hearing about this soon. We need to hear about it soon. So who knows? But yeah. And again, that article comes from IGN, and then the entire pretty much briefing is also sourced in description. Every single article that we have is sourced in the description. If just to let just to let you know.
Yeah, you go Reddit,
Yeah,
for your city sources.
exactly. Well, hey man, I don't want to go ahead
Take that, Reddit.
I don't want to go ahead and be pulling anything out of my butt. So like, there you go. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on. Next topic is that the PlayStation Studios brand will be launching alongside of the PS5. This is coming from GameIndustry.biz, which actually they showed the video of this up on PlayStation's own YouTube and otherwise. But pretty much it's they're like, now when you buy an exclusive, you will see this little 30-second, 15-second little montage. And it will say it will have the PlayStation logo in a white box, and it's PlayStation Studios. That's what they're now kind of taking. Naughty Dog, Gorilla, Insomniac, all the studios that are owned by PlayStation are now called PlayStation Studios. Still developed by Sucker Punch and them, but it's now under one umbrella. And this brand will be going live in PS4 and PS5 games later in the year. So we could be seeing this in Last of Us Part 2 or in Ghosts of Tsushima for the PS4. But from the PS5 going forward, this will be kind of opening all of their exclusives. From Eric Lempel, who is the Senior Vice President and Head of Global Marketing at Sony Interactive Entertainment. He says, "We are really excited about this. Over the last few years and even the last decade, the strength of the titles coming out from our studios have been stronger than ever. We have been thinking about how we unite all these games under one brand, and really the purpose of that is to make the consumer understand that when they see this brand, they're getting ready for a robust, innovative, deep experience that they've come to expect from games coming from PlayStation. So we came up with PlayStation Studios." And then it kind of goes on and so on and about how proud they are about it, which is awesome. I personally love it. I think this is a great thing.
Yeah, it's I guess it's another reassurance that they care about. They have a brand that they care about here. That they the idea of exclusive games. I mean, there's been some kind of there has been some back and forth about exclusives on the system, and I think this kind of seems to reaffirm that this is a priority for them still. So yeah, I think this is good news.
Mm-hmm.
It's a console has to have an identity. Otherwise, I mean, it's just basically a watered down PC. I mean, it has to have some kind of identity. Regardless of the pros and cons of a system. I mean, it has to have something that makes it unique. I mean, people buy a Nintendo Switch because they want it to play. I mean, for its feature set, but also for a factor in there is this is where you play Mario. And I think one of the like I've always said, it's a multitude of factors. It's price, it's features, it's et cetera, et cetera. But one of those boxes on there, one of those check boxes is what kind of software does this system have? And if it has software that I can only play on the system, that is, no matter how you slice it, that is a boon to the system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So good on them. I mean, it just seems to suggest to me that this is something that they're keeping as a priority.
Yeah, and again, like the exclusive of PlayStation has what attracted me to the brand itself. That's why I'm a PlayStation fan. Has been its exclusive, so seeing that is very, very good. Like, it's a little montage where you see the spinning symbols of the X, square, triangle, and circle, but through the symbols you're seeing kind of like little bits of like Uncharted and Little Big Planet and Horizon Zero Dawn and so on and so forth, through the logos, and then it like comes out and then it all comes together and shows the PS logo, PlayStation Studios logo. So yeah, it's really nice. I like it. I'm excited. Let's move on. Next topic is that PlayStation has announced that they have Iron Man VR now has a new release date. It is not being held indefinitely. It is now going to be released on July 3rd. This is kind of the big VR game that PlayStation is really trying to push forward, trying to sell the PlayStation VR. We saw a demo of this in a state of play. I think it was one of the first state of plays, or the first state of play, because it was all VR based. And this was the one that opened it, and it looked really, really fun. So yeah, this game is now going to be coming out on July 3rd, and this is a PlayStation exclusive also. So this is made with the PlayStation VR in mind.
Yeah, and I know this is a big title for it as well. So like I said, I've given my opinions before on the VR. I'm more interested to see their next revised model down the road. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's I mean yeah, we'll see how this game turns out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing it. Let's move on. Next topic is that video game spending in the first quarter of the first quarter of 2020 has been the highest spending in U.S. history. Pretty much during the first quarter of 2020, the U.S. consumer spending on video game products has reached the highest total in U.S. history, according to the NPD Group. The NPD Group calls this year's first quarter a record driven by digital content spending across console, mobile, and PC platforms, reaching, holy crap, reaching 10.86 billion with a B billion dollars in total from January to March. This is an increase of 9% compared to the same period from last year, according to the report. Um, the state, and then it continues. Sales of video game content reached 9.58 billion in the first quarter, up 11% when compared to a year ago. Gains were seen across digital console and PC content, mobile, and subscription spending, as well as across hardware and accessory categories. Games like Animal Crossing New Horizons, which broke its own record after becoming the fastest selling Switch game, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Doom Eternal, and GTA 5 helped consumer spending break this record, as they were all among the best performing titles this year first quarter. Other notable titles included Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, Fortnite, Minecraft, MLB The Show 20, and NBA 2K20. And then it kind of goes on to explaining why, the analysis, saying that video games have brought comfort and connection to millions during the challenging time. As people have stayed home more, they've utilized gaming not as only a diversion of an escape, but also as a means of staying connected with friends and family, whether it's on console, PC, mobile, or virtual reality. Gaming experience play and sales growth during the first quarter. And then
Yeah, I mean I think sorry to jump into the commentary
No,
there,
you're good.
but
No,
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, I mean
The last thing I was just going to say is that the reports that the strong growth in sales of the Switch hardware and software helped offset the declines across the hardware platforms, meaning the Switch has sold out completely. You cannot get it anywhere, leading the overall video game hardware market to increase 2% in the quarter to $773 million. And then accessories have increased in 1%, which reached $503 million. So yeah, so it just shows that the Switch is selling highly. So as you were saying,
yeah, it's yeah, I mean like I said, I think this I mean pretty easy to predict this was going to happen.
mm-hmm.
I mean, people are stuck indoors, and it's. I know. Me personally, I'm playing a lot more. I'm getting through a lot more games now than I
Mm-hmm.
normally would under more conventional circumstances. I am. I am working right now, of course, too. I'm fortunate enough to be working from home. But even with work, I mean, you have just more time in general to play. I mean, it cuts out. I mean, it's amazing. You don't really realize it until something like this happens. So much of your time is spent driving back and forth, and I got to go to the grocery store for this or whatever, or this or that, and so much of your time is wasted doing those things. So when you take that away, you have a lot more time, a lot more leisure time, and thus, you can go for a lot more things like games and stuff you want to play.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised at all. I'm surprised with the number, like how much, but I knew that it was going to be a big increase. But like 10 point, what was it, 86 billion? That's crazy. That's nuts. So just hearing that is crazy. And like Animal Crossing, like with all of this happening, like I think there's a lot of people who didn't have never played an Animal Crossing game, but bought it because they've heard all the good things about it from their friends or online. And so people bought Switches and then bought Animal Crossing. Like that was kind of like they went hand in hand. Um, like playing inside for PlayStation, like more people are spending time on the online games or single player games or whatever it would be through this pandemic. So I'm not surprised at all. Like, and and mind you, the sales is from January to March, so that's therefore the first quarter. I'm actually really more interested going from after March because that's when the pandemic really started. I want to see. I would actually like to see if it dropped, and if it did, how far, or if it kind of stayed, like kind of evened out, or it continued to rise. Because that's when, like, now we're all locked inside our houses during that time. Because from January to March, like January, February was just normal. March is when we found out, so everyone was like, all right, we need to get ready. So let's get a system, let's get this, let's get that, outside of the necessities, so on and so forth. So I'm actually more interested from April to May or June or whatever, that kind of the second quarter. That's what I'm looking forward to hearing.
Yeah,
So yeah.
definitely. No, that'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yep. All right, so let's move on. Next topic. This isn't real. It is a news topic, but I want to bring this up. PlayStation just did their state of play of Ghost of Tsushima this past, I believe it was Thursday as of recording, and it was an 18-minute gameplay, straight up and down gameplay demo of Ghost of Tsushima, showing how you can traverse the world and how combat works, customization, all of that. And I wanted to bring this up to you, Spectre. So I know you saw it. What did you think?
Yeah, no, this was something that we were looking forward to. We wanted to see more gameplay of this game, and we've seen it a lot over the years. Ever since it was announced, we've seen a lot of story trailers and cut scenes and things like that. We haven't
Mm-hmm.
seen a ton of gameplay, like actual in-game gameplay with the HUD and everything, and examples of what it's actually going to be like to play. So yeah, so I was very glad to see this. My thoughts on it. I mean, obviously the game looks incredible. I mean, keep in mind that we're watching a compressed YouTube version of it. It'll look a lot different on our actual TV screens. It'll look amazing, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, just as Sucker Punch's last game, Infamous looked fantastic. No complaints in the visual department.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I guess my only question marks for this game. I mean, it looks like it's a nice big open world. It looks like it has plenty of things for you to collect, and outfits and craftable things and this and that. So my only questions right now are in regards to combat. What does the combat feel like to actually play? Well, we saw some examples of combat, but it's not always easy to judge from a video.
Mm-hmm.
And the next part is does this have a story that's actually worth getting invested in? Is it just set dressing for the gameplay, or is this actually a story that will be memorable? So that those are the big question marks right now, because I mean, Infamous, I mean, not really known for its story. So we'll see
Mm-hmm.
how they do with this new setting and this historical setting, and it seems like they have placed some emphasis on verisimilitude, trying to they consulted with historians on this
Yeah.
to try to get this at least to be accurate. But I mean, obviously, also part of this is, I mean, this is a game set in Japan, created by Western developers. And I don't think they shy away from the fact that they are big fans of samurai films, Akira Kurosawa films, stuff like that. I mean, they even included in a black and white kind of film recreation mode of sorts, kind of similar to like what LA Noir did. So it's, I mean, obviously they're fans of there's I can sense a degree of passion in this.
Yeah.
This wasn't just something that they put out just to make a quick buck or something. So I'm hoping that translates into a fun, enjoyable game. But so far, everything I've seen looks good. I mean, I think at worst, this will be a 20 to 25 hour open world game that will at least be competently made and will, be worth your entertainment dollar.
Man,
Just like Infamous was. Infamous. I mean, I don't think anyone would ever put it on their top 5 of all time video games list, but I think we can all agree that Infamous, competently made. It looked fantastic. It was fun to play. And although you really can't remember the stories of the characters too much, it was enjoyable. And if there was another, if to put it this way, if they announced another Infamous game, I'd probably pick that up and play it at some point. I mean, I guess my question is right now, the unknown of this game is, will this just be a good game? Like a 7 or 6 or 7 out of 10, above average game, or will this be a great game? That's my kind of my thoughts right now. And I guess if I had to guess, probably be more in the good game category. But I mean, who knows? I could be wrong. This could be something really special that blows us all away. So excited about it. I think it's this, it's a safe bet. I think, like I said, I think Last of Us out of the exclusives this year, the last, the swan songs for the PlayStation 4 here, our last 2 major exclusives. I think the safer bet is Ghost of Tsushima. Last of Us, I think, even if you're a fan of Last of Us, I think it's going to be very polarizing. I think most people will enjoy Ghost of Tsushima. I'm not so sure about Last of Us Part 2.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I would definitely say, and I think it's just because we have been with Ghost of Tsushima, it's been kind of left more in the dark than Last of Us has. Just kind of going through the rundown of what the demo showed is that they have this thing called the guiding wind, which kind of show so you pull up your map, you want to go there, the guiding wind will is your navigation point. You don't have, or is your waypoint. You don't have you actually don't have a HUD, so when you are traversing through the world, you don't have on the lower left is your map, on the lower right is your health, and then on top of the screen is a little compass. None of that is there. So it really wants to focus on having you be in this world as if you're really there. There's locations,
and I like that. I think whenever possible, if you can kind of minimize the HUD or kind of incorporate it into the game itself, it does help with the immersion. I think, I mean, there's lots of examples of that. Shadow of the Colossus, most famously, of course, really was very minimalistic in terms of its HUD details. Dead Space, of course, I always thought did a really good job. Everything was, a kind of organic part of your character. The HUD elements were all kind of integrated into your character.
Yeah.
So I think that sometimes it's done really well, and I think it helps with the immersion. It keeps you in the game.
Yep. You can follow birds and foxes to different collectibles. They are other versions of waypoints, so that's really cool. You collect bamboo and other items throughout the world to craft items. You can pretty much, there's 2 ways to play. During the day you are the samurai, but during night you can become the ghost, which is a more stealthy way to play through the game. Which looks really cool. They spent more time with the ghost. As a samurai, you can challenge an enemy, and you have the normal samurai standoff, which is really cool.
I like that. I like that. It's it sounds like this will at least vary the gameplay to some degree. I think one of the problems with games like Infamous, for example, was the fights kind of felt a little samey. It's okay, every fight kind of plays out exactly the same. I think it's nice to have a little bit of variety, and I'm not saying that this game is the first one to do that. I mean,
I think this is very much kind of like what Guerrilla did with Rise of Zero Dawn. Guerrilla completely left Killzone, which was a first-person shooter, and made it an open-world game. This is Infamous was a superhero game, so as you progress through the game, you got bigger and more powerful superpowers. So by the end, you're just a god. You get a superpower that you can just summon lightning and smite people in a massive area. You have all these different powers in In 2, you got to add fire and ice to your lightning powers. So then you had that kind of stuff. So this is more, they want you to feel like a samurai. So this is a very different style of game. Excuse me. Woo. This is a very different style of game than what they did with Infamous. I think this is going to be a completely different game. Kind of like how Guerrilla did Horizon Zero Dawn, where it's a completely different game. Just kind of continuing, you can they have customizations, so you can craft different various armor, which actually is not just for cosmetic. It actually like allows you to be like, for there are different pieces for the ghost that could make you be more stealthy, or it's all mechanical
I
advantages.
like that. It kind of reminds me sort of what God of War did as well too, where the different armor pieces, not only did it change the look of your character, but it has a benefit to it as well, and I like that. I think a game hopefully should be a little a little bit more than just a game of dress up. I
Yep.
mean, obviously, I mean, you want your character to look cool and personalized and stuff like that, and I think they give you the option to kind of change the colors and stuff, which kind of helps with that too. But I like the idea that if my character's wearing a different piece of armor, it gives some kind of different bonus. I like that kind of RPG kind of style element to it.
Yeah. And then you have photo mode, and then you can they have a Japanese voice track along with a black and white film grain mode. So as if you wanted to like, you could just have it be one of those old school samurai movies from way back in the day. You can do that along with adding on top of the customization. You get charms, which also give you different abilities too. So I'm very excited for this game.
Yeah, no, I mean it's one of my most anticipated this year. Definitely. I mean it looks like it'll be a lot of fun. I like I said, for me it's just a question of will it be either a good game or a great game. That's what remains to be seen.
I
So but
agree.
yeah, but I'll be picking that up when it comes out in July, and I'll be giving my thoughts on it.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on. Next topic is that we got the reveal of the Unreal Engine 5. Um,
Great.
you're like, I don't care. Um, I have, there are, so there is, we have the state of play, my reactions to this Ghost of Tsushima state of play, along with my reactions to the reveal of the tech demo of the Unreal Engine 5 being played on a PS5. So Unreal, who are the makers of it, they pretty much showed this massive demo, and go look at the at our reaction video to kind of see. Um, the demo itself looked awesome. Pretty much, it was they very much focused on lighting, and called this new tool called the Lumens, which is a dynamic global illumination tool, and Nanite, which is a virtualized geometry that lets artists import film quality art and assets into the Unreal Engine. Um, so yeah, I've already kind of said my part on the demo itself. Now, mind you, in my reactions, I also talked about just kind of itself, and then there was also about a 45-minute to hour long discussion. That is not within the reaction video, but in Summer Game Fest there was a massive long discussion about that. But I want to hear what you thought, Spectre, about this before I continue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm an old man. I've been here time and time again. We see a tech demo for a new engine, and I mean, all I gotta say is get ready for the downgrade. Get ready for when this is actually running games. It's not gonna look this nice. I mean, I've been fooled too many times to not be pessimistic about this. And also, it was revealed that this tech demo was running at 30 frames per second, which is I mean we how long are we going to be in this a sub 4K under 60 frames per second paradigm? I mean, I think we're going into, what is this, the 10th generation now? I mean, I can we try to make that like as much of a standard as possible, as 4K 60 FPS, or at the very least just consistently 60 FPS. I mean, I just I don't know. It didn't really impress me. I mean, it looked really nice, but Like I said, this isn't actually a real game. This is a tech demo. Tech demos always look nice. We'll see how it actually translates to games. And then afterwards, so this was followed up by basically an hour-long, Epic Games shill video. But
Man, you
during
really
this whole
hate
time,
it.
what's that?
You really hate it. You really
I don't
hate
really
this
hate it.
demo.
I'm just like, it's also tiresome. I've seen this before. A generation starts, and Tim Sweeney comes out and says, "Oh, this is going to be, these ridiculous platitudes of like, okay, oh, this is, PCs are obsolete." They said the same thing about PlayStation 4. They said the same thing about PS3, and the cell architecture is going to change things forever, and blah blah blah. I'm sorry. For me, it's all marketing speak. It doesn't, history has shown that it just doesn't play out like that. I would have been I would have been much more interested in actual game reveal or something. It didn't wow me. It seems like, this has been a pattern for between this and the PlayStation 5 initial, what was supposed to be the GDC event. It's really tailored less towards consumers and more towards developers and people that are inside the industry, which is great for them. It's just I think the average
So,
everyday person just doesn't really care.
So I did talk about this in my reactions, and when I was seeing it first, I was very impressed by the demo itself. Um, but I had higher expectations going into this like showcase, going in, because in my brain I was thinking, ooh, new games, ooh, new this. So my expectations were focused upon like the new games, and instead we got a new engine, which is great. This is awesome. I think that demo looked amazing. And it looked absolutely beautiful. I loved at the end, she gets like this flying power, and she's just running like almost like in Marvel Spider-Man, but much higher higher fidelity of just buildings falling upon her and debris falling down and everything. I wanted to
I
play
don't know.
that.
Like I said, I understand the excitement. It's just we've been here so many times. I don't know if you remember the infamous Killzone 2 tech demo video.
No, I do not.
Well, basically, go look it up sometime, for
Mm-hmm.
some history. But basically, it presented this vision of the PlayStation 3 as, look how amazing this is. Look how amazing this
Mm-hmm.
tech demo is, and what it can do for but of course, when we eventually got Killzone 2, it didn't really look anything like that. PlayStation 3 games didn't look anything like what we saw in that video. So I'm saying always just temper your expectations. Tech demos are more marketing than they are fact in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I think this will be something that we should definitely come back to and discuss on, maybe on another DualShock'd or something else. But I just wanted to come in and like hear your opinion. We've gotten like in that interview, the PS5 SSD is far ahead of high-end PCs. Epic Game CEO says. He says that the advancement of Sony in Sony's SSD is pretty much like fundamental. PS5 puts a vast amount of flash memory very, very close to the processor, so much that it really fundamentally changes the trade-offs that games can make and stream in, and that's absolutely critical for this kind of demo. It's so, and again, we could probably talk about this for on and
Yeah,
on and
I
on.
like I said, Tim Sweeney's done this before with he said things like this before in the past in reference to systems, and once again we keep getting these references to this magic SSD, which is we're at, I think I think that's just being really hyped up, and I think it's a lot of marketing speak. I think we're acting like this is some kind of new space age alien technology when
Mm.
it's something we've had in around for literally over a decade.
Yeah. Well, I think this is something that we should definitely come back to, but I wanted to hear your opinions on this because we've pretty much got three big announcements this past week. And then there was one more, which I think is going to be much more fun for us to talk about. You
Yeah,
ready
get
for
to the one I care about.
You ready for our PlayStation conversation?
Yes.
Awesome. This is our PlayStation conversation.
PlayStation.
I thought we were already having it.
No, it was this one.
Oh, wow.
So, the PlayStation conversation is that the first announcement of the week, I kind of did it backwards because on Thursday we had the State of Play, Wednesday we had the showcase of the Unreal Engine 5, but then on Tuesday, I believe it was Tuesday, if that it was Monday, whatever, beginning of the week, we had a game announcement, and my reactions of this is up. Is up, and it is the announcement of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, which is pretty much both amazing PS1 games are being remastered by Activision and Visceral Images, Visceral Games, whatever. The guys behind Crash, my brain's not working. Spectre, help me.
Vicarious Vision.
Vicarious Visions. There we go. God, my brain's not working today. Oy. Anyway, Vicarious Visions is remastering Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. And we've also gotten pretty much the track list for the game, which I'll just kind of quickly go through this. So pretty much classics if you remember this from way back in the day, if you remember playing this. So you got Police Truck from Dead Kennedy, Superman from Goldfinger, Jerry Was a Race Car Driver from Primus, New Girl from the Suicide Machines, Here We Go Now, Here We Are, Here and Now.
I always said Primus.
Primus? Okay.
I thought it was Primus.
I could be wrong.
I could be wrong. I think pretty much the whole soundtrack. So I think there are some exceptions, though. I believe. I think I think not everything made it.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. Pretty much there are a few. So I'll just continue going. These are so you have Here and Now from the Ernies, Eurobarge from the Vandals, Blood Brothers from Papa Roach, Guerrilla Radio from Rage Against the Machine, Pin the Tail on the Donkey from Naughty by Nature, You by Bad Religion, When Worlds Collide from Power Man 5000, No Cigar from Millencolin, Cyclone from Dubs Pistols, May 16th from Lagwagon, Subculture from Styles of Beyond, Diesel Boy and Chaos, Heavy Metal Winner from Consumed, Evil Eye from Fu Manchu, 5 Lessons Learned from Swingin' Utters, and then Speed Dealer, which may be included in that one. That one's a little bit iffy. And then the ones that are not going to be in it, that are not included in the remake from Tony Hawk 1, is Vilified from Even Rude, Screamer from Speed Dealer, Nothing to Me from Speed Dealer, a lot of it. Psycho Vision from Suicidal Tendencies. Committed from...
Oh, no, I remember that song, too. That sucks.
Yeah. Committed from Unsane. Ain't Got Time to Waste from AIM featuring YZ. Lehat from Grand Unified, and Blue Thunder from Aquaski. Tony Hawk, the songs that are not from Tony Hawk 2 that are not included in the remake is Bring the Noise from Anthrax and Chuck D, B-Boy Document 99 from The High and Mighty featuring Yazlin Bey and Mad Skills, Out with the Old from Alley Life featuring Black Planet, and City Star from Born Allah. So yeah, and that's the reason why we all know this, is that the soundtrack for it is up on Spotify. So yeah.
Very nice.
So yeah, what did you think? Because I lost my goddamn mind when I saw it. I could not handle myself. Oh man, I'm so excited.
Yeah, no, I mean, just obviously very, very impressed. I knew eventually we were going to get some kind of re-release like this. I mean, really, it's good to see this, especially after we've had like kind of the some failed attempts in the past with we had the Tony Hawk HD or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, just looks fantastic. The only way it could be better is if they had if they included Tony Hawk 3 on top of it as well too.
Yeah, I mean, Tony Hawk 3 is the best one. I love Tony Hawk 3. But I think they want to do this one first, like the 1 and 2, see how this sells, and then if this sells well, which I really hope it does, and I feel like it will, they'll do 2 and 4. They'll put 2 and 4. I'm sorry, why am I saying 2 and 4? 3 and 4 in another combo, in that set. So they're just taking 2 games, throwing it into one.
Yeah.
And if this does well, then it makes it easier to do 3 and 4 because you have such a good base of 1 and 2. Because we've seen remasters. We've seen Tony Hawk Pro Skater HD. We've seen Tony Pro Skater HD, which was absolute garbage on the PS3. That was ugh. And then we got Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5, which is just a complete shill. It was just, hey, we want to keep the license. Just vomit out Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5, which was absolute garbage. Like, it shows how rushed out that game was.
Yeah. It's I mean it's amazing how this series kind of went from really high highs to just incredible lows. I mean it had this kind of classic, I guess you could say, Activision curse to it, where they had this really great hit and they milked it like crazy, and then unfortunately they they took this great thing and it went to waste. It's just like the Guitar Hero franchise, arguably like the Call of Duty franchise. I mean, just a lot of examples where it's just they really just missed the mark on it.
I mean, honestly, with Guitar Hero, most definitely, but I think that was a fad. Call of Duty has been able to live through that, and honestly, I think if it wasn't for because I believe because it was Black Ops 4 was 2018, and then last year was Modern Warfare, correct?
I
believe so. Yeah,
I believe
that
so.
sounds
Yeah.
right. So honestly, if Modern Warfare, like this one, which honestly people have been applauding, even like not just Call of Duty fans, but like with how the story was well done, and then you have the gunfight mode, which a lot of people have been applauding it for. Like honestly, I think if they didn't kind of like reinvigorate the series, I think they would have Call of Duty could have went same way as Guitar Hero. Like it would just fall off, and people would just migrate to Fortnite, which Fortnite has become the new Call of Duty. Like that is the more popular game, but Call of Duty is still every year one of the most bought games every year. So, but regardless, like Tony Hawk was kind of like the big game back in the day. Like I remember playing Tony Hawk 1, 2, 3, and 4 when I was a kid, and those games is what got me into skateboarding. I wasn't any good at it, but I remember getting myself a board, and helmet and knee pads and all that kind of stuff, and I would go ahead and try to skate, try to do some jumps or something, whatever. Or it would just be me riding on my skateboard. So I wouldn't do tricks, but I would use my skateboard to just kind of get around, get around my block and stuff. Like Tony Hawk was a big reason why I love skateboarding back in the day.
Yeah, it's it was something I never was like personally good at. But I definitely tried. I tried to get into skateboarding.
Yeah.
I sucked at it. I mean, it takes a lot of balance and practice and a lot of falling down and breaking bones and stuff, and I just that was not for me.
Got to take them hard bumps.
Yeah, I wasn't for me. I give people a lot of credit if they can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it got me interested in it. I mean, it was like the biggest thing in the world for such a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm just glad to see it back. Like I said, I hope what happens is this game does well, and then they go for like Tony Hawk 3 as well too. Like they kind of they bring that. It's sort of like like another Crash Insane trilogy where they it sells well, and they they go kind of in that direction then where they bring out even more stuff.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I don't believe Vicarious Visions has really worked on a main game since Crash, because you had Insane Trilogy, and then Toys from Bob was Spyro. I thought it was Vicarious Visions for CTR, but I guess it was Beanox. I had to look into that. Beanox did a CTR, so then Vicarious Visions may have been working on this since Crash.
Yeah, good question. I don't know exactly how that played out.
I think with with CTR, Vicarious. I think with CTR, Vicarious Visions and Beanox worked on it at the same time. So like, the two of them, like you had separate teams. I don't know, but like this is awesome. I'm so excited for like Tony Hawk, because like that was a game of my childhood. Like if I had to go ahead and think of like, all right, if I had to go ahead and be like, all right, what games from the PS1 were games that I would be like, this is what defined my childhood. In the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 to 4 was part of that. Including like the soundtrack, which is what we started with. Like, I love that soundtrack so much. God, I love it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it was just such a perfect fusion of just so many things go right in that game in terms of the soundtrack, it all really fit with the culture in that game, and it became such a phenomenon too. I mean, it was so popular for so long, and it was just such a big part of the culture that I mean, I so many countless hours I spent on that game,
Yeah.
because every part of it was fun. I mean, the single player was really enjoyable. I mean, it really struck a chord with completionists like myself. You want to get all
Yep.
the tapes and do all the tricks and stuff,
Yep.
unlock all the characters and stuff. The multiplayer was a ton of fun as well.
Oh yeah.
Play.
Me and my brother would
Yeah,
play that all the time. Oh man.
yeah, it's you know just everything about it was perfect. The soundtrack, the gameplay was very solid, and it only got better with each installment.
Mm-hmm.
They added character creator
Yep.
eventually.
Create a skater and create a park.
Yeah, so I mean, it had it's like, what more could you really ask for? It
Oh
just
yeah. And like I think Tony Hawk Pro Skater, like it did such a good job of making you feel like what you do in Tony Hawk Pro Skater is not a simulation. The crap that you can do in Tony Hawk, no one can pull off in real life. Mind you, when I was a kid, I thought people could, but that's because I was a kid. But that's still like kind of like something like that's something kind of like cool about it. Like I thought, like look at these. Like I'm playing as Tony Hawk, and I'm playing like as all these well-known skaters from back in that time who were skating like in legitimate competitions on ESPN and so on and so forth, who would be doing that. And like you had different moves like the famous 900, which is Tony Hawk's like signature move. All of that, like what I loved about it is that it was an arcade. It still was very much an arcade game, especially when you would do create a park. You could create so many weird things that it's just not possible for normal people to do. But because this is in a video game, you can. So I can make this like twirling, whirling, like roller coaster of a grind rail, and I can just get my guy. I'm going to get on this grind rail, and I'm just going to go ahead and grind throughout the whole thing. And like, you can go so fast and everything. There were cheat codes of like your momentum bar and all that kind of stuff. Like it was still a video game, where I think some games have become more like simulators, and like it's more about, it's feel like you're playing football, or feel like you're playing, you know,
That's a really good point too. Is it was very arcadey, and I think you've seen for sports games you've seen a movement away from that, and for the most part,
Well, yeah,
you don't really see like NFL Blitz anymore. You don't really
no.
see games that are more like, okay, we're not really trying to be realistic.
I mean, like
You know,
even for me, like I'm a wrestling guy, and a lot of the more recent wrestling games have felt more like simulations instead of feeling like my favorite wrestling games from back in the day was No Mercy, Here Comes the Pain, SmackDown versus Raw, specifically 2010. That was like my favorite. But like those games were very arcadey. Um, they like you're still playing as the wrestlers, you're still playing as these things, but like it still felt like a game. It still felt like, oh, look at me doing these really cool things, and it still felt competitive, and it still felt like, oh man, like I can go ahead and like fight this other guy and that kind of thing. Like it still felt like a video game, you know?
yeah, exactly, yeah, and it's nice to have something that's more arcadey. It's more just for fun. It's just like I say, you just don't really see that. And I think the other thing about this game too is damn it, don't let me lose my train of thought. Uh,
I didn't even
damn it,
say anything.
you ruined it. It was all your fault. No, I totally lost my train of thought there for a second. Um, it'll come back to me.
All right,
It'll
but
come
like
back to me.
I was talking, pretty much, I'm talking about how arcadey that this game is compared to games of kind of like the more recent sports games. And like again, the soundtrack, and like I remember playing as like Darth Maul or Jango Fett. Um, in I think it's either in 2 or 3, I can't remember, but like you had like cheats and create like, oh, you could do so much, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it had a lot for you to like unlock and do and stuff like that. And this is before any kind of online or anything really. I know what I was gonna say now. I was gonna say that even though we're not gonna, it's just Tony Hawk 1 and 2, in a way that's kind of good, because I would argue that I think the games that are best for remakes are kind of, this is just a general thesis of mine. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you agree with this or not,
No, go ahead.
but the games that are best for remakes are ones that are I would say from the year 2000 or so or earlier, or like in the 90s or even
Yeah.
late 80s are the best candidates for that. Because once you got to like the PlayStation 2 era with like Tony Hawk 3 and just games in general around that time,
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, I mean they still hold up pretty well today. I still think Tony Hawk 3 looks pretty good today.
Mm-hmm.
I think Silent Hill 2 looks really good today. Um, but I mean, of course, you can still make a really good remake, or a remaster, even of a PlayStation 2 era game. I mean, obviously, we saw that with Shadow of the Colossus,
Yeah.
a PlayStation 2 era game, but I mean, obviously, just incredibly gorgeous. Even as and you can really see what they did with the remake there.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, there's still potential, definitely. But for the most part, I think it really works best when you have games that are, you know what I mean, like they're a little bit older and they can really benefit more from that remaster, that remake.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Um, like right now we have Resident Evil, 2 and 3. 4 could be on the next one in, but 4 is like everyone kind of says like Resident Evil 4 is the pinnacle of it. So I don't know, like that. There's that. Like for me personally, like I remember playing Tony Hawk 1, 2, 3, and 4 on a PS1, not on the PS2. Um, because 3 and 4 were on the PS2. I actually played them on the PS1. Um, and I still had a fun time. Oh my god, I loved it. So I mean, I would love to see it, but like I'm extremely excited for 1 and 2, just everything about it. And like they did an interview, like Jeff Keighley interviewed Tony Hawk himself and pretty much the head game designer of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, and like they talked about how they are taking aspects of 3 and throwing them into 1 and 2, like the invert where that was added into 3. But we've played, like, people don't remember what stuff came from which game. So they're kind of like taking stuff from 3 and 4 and throwing it into 1 and 2. So that way the gameplay would be more fun, which is great. So I like that, where they're kind of like, oh, we're gonna throw the invert and stuff. Like they really talked about, like they were joking about how, like, I remember like doing the invert and that was gonna like that's how I kept my momentum going, and I'm like, yeah. And they just talked about how just pretty much everything that we've been talking about. Like I'm extremely excited for this game. I cannot wait. I've already got my collector's edition pre-ordered, which the collector's edition comes with the game, a board with a printed signing of Tony Hawk. It's a limited edition board, and then it comes with some extra DLC, which is great. I cannot wait for it. When I hang up that board on my wall, it's going to be great.
Yeah, no, it's going to be yeah, like I also got the collector's edition pre-order myself too. I mean, I just can't wait. I mean, it's gonna be, it's I like I said, really can't wait. It's gonna be fantastic.
Oh my god, I cannot. Yeah, it's gonna be.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, it's gonna be really good. I'm really excited. So yeah, I kind of wanted to just talk about this one because I think it's more fun to talk about something that we both enjoy instead of you and I bicker and bicker like two.
I like it when we. I like it when we bicker and argue, though.
You find it more fun? Okay.
That's our best stuff.
well, as I said, we'll probably have to come back about that Unreal Engine 5 stuff. But I wanted to hear your opinion. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for... Do you have anything else? I don't think you do. I know I'm good. I've already oozed.
You don't think I do? Well, you obviously know.
No, I don't, Spectre. I don't. No, that's why I'm asking you, Spectre.
No, I don't have anything else.
Oh, okay, so fine. Okay, good. Fine. So, guys, thank you so much. Please let us know if you guys are excited for Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, or if you are looking forward to the Unreal Engine 5. Spectre's not. I did the right way. Spectre's not looking forward to that. He's just like, but anyway. But tell us if you guys are looking forward to that, if that looked really awesome. I thought it did. Spectre did not. But also, if you're looking forward to Ghost of Tsushima, we both are. Spectre is looking forward to it. Good job, Spectre. But yeah, please let us know in the comments if there's some you looking forward to that. If there's some other announcements, please let us know. But guys, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. YouTube.com/Brotherhood of Geeks. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Tell everyone. Let your friends know. And if you haven't already, press the bell icon. That way, whenever we put up a video, we put up a video. You can also follow us on Facebook, which is facebook.com/The Brotherhood of Geeks. You can also follow us on Twitter at Dualshock'd BOG. That's the name of this PlayStation podcast, Dualshock'd BOG. And then you can also follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Brotherhood of Geeks. Yeah, Spectre. Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm very excited.
Hey, Spectre. Here I am, doing everything I can. All to what I am. Because I'm a Superman. Yeah, that's right. You know. Yeah, I love that song.
I know.
You know what was the really funny thing? I'll leave with this. During the countdown of Summer Game Fest for that announcement, they played that song, like, before it. I was like just jamming out to it, so like I just thought it was like, oh, hey, it's the summer, and we're gonna play old '90s music because like Warped Tour, because that was like that whole thing. So my brain was like, oh, look at Superman, yeah, and then the countdown ended, and then it just opens with the trailer, and I'm like, yeah. So that was a little fun tidbit. I was just
I'm very proud of you.
Yeah, thanks, Spectre. Yeah, Spectre, not caring about a thing except Tony Hawk and Cyberpunk and Deus Ex. Yay.
More or less, yeah.
Anything else, Spectre?
No, that's it.
All right, then. Well, I'm Brett J. Rasmussen.
And I'm Spectre.
And as always, live to play together. We'll see you guys next time.